Community Heart Media. Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show.
Well, it's Wednesday night again on 98.9 Northwest FM Community Heart Radio. And Julio, you never know who you're going to meet at breakfast sometimes, do you?
No, you don't. I mean, for you, you're probably even more meeting more people than I am. So I'd love to introduce the next guest to us.
Well, that's right, mate. And obviously food is a big one for me. But Phoebe, it was just wonderful meeting you out there at Melton for breakfast. Fantastic catching up. What were we both doing at Melton for breakfast? What were we doing there?
We were doing a version of speed dating. No.
Speed dating. That's it. We were speed dating.
For businesses. I should add that. For business.
For business. That's right. That was for business. We didn't go on a date, did we, Phoebe? We just went to a speed dating for business session.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we did. It was fun.
And the outcome of our date is you're here on 98.9 Northwest FM.
I know. That's pretty exciting, eh? That's a good date.
It's a great date. Great date. And Kelly, you've been to a bit of speed dating. What do you think about that outcome?
I think that's a really good outcome. Phoebe, do you want to go to the next one with me? Sure. Why not?
So, now, Phoebe, tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Phoebe? And it's just so good to have you on the show. I'm personally really looking forward to it because even though we went on a date, you can't really say we got to know each other.
No, we didn't have much time. The bell went off. So, my name is Phoebe Preuss. My family come from the lands of Samoa. My mother is from Vaiusu and my dad is from Vailima. I am blessed to be working and living on Wurundjeri and Burrong country on the Kulin Nations. What do I do? I have me and my partner Glenn Reese have a cacao manufacturing space in Ravenhall. So we bring cacao from Samoa, tons and tons. The last lot was 6,000 kilos, which means we work with over 400 domestic plot farmers, which have small plots of cacao, and we bring their cacao here. We manufacture and we make chocolate, drinking cacao, just healthy versions of cacao products, and we have a skincare range as well. So I'm a community development practitioner, a performing artist, a scuba diving instructor, and just someone who loves the outdoors and connecting with Pacific Island culture, my culture and other cultures, and creating spaces that light us up.
Well, you're an absolute superstar, Phoebe. So great to have you on the show tonight. And I don't know where to start, but I suppose we've got to start with the chocolate. Like, tell us a bit about what you actually do out there in this, factory of yours, and how you got started. And it'd be great to hear a bit more about it.
Yeah, sure. There's a number of stories that run parallel to each other before meeting up and Living Koko being created. So Living Koko is the name of our business. Koko means cacao, but it also means blood in Samoan, and Koko or Toto. And so Living Koko for us means the coming together of all our bloodlines. So all our stories coming together to activate a space of alofa. Hence the t-shirt, love. My family have been in cacao for many generations in Samoa. My grandfather was the high chief of our village, but also of our whole district. And he worked for an organization called WesTech, which did a lot of the post-harvesting processes for the German plantations in Samoa and sent a lot of the koko to Europe. So while that was happening in his work life as a high chief, he was also activating a lot of the Matai chiefs, the Matai and the villages to grow cacao and ensuring that they got a really good price for their cacao. So going back to Samoa and wanting to create something that was going to be a trade and not aid approach that had food sovereignty and as the cornerstone and integrity as the cornerstone of our business, cacao kept coming up because of our family's lineage and because of just what we had all grown up with back home. So that's my story heading into cacao or through cacao. And my partner, Glenn, he was on a trek, I think it was 2013 in Papua New Guinea. And a really unfortunate incident happened where their trek was attacked, and a number of the 2 people on the trek were killed, and one other was, many of them were really badly injured, and another died in hospital. Then through a lot of work and talanoa, so like conversations with the PNG porters, especially one of them, Andrew, realized that how he could support some of them was by supporting their cacao endeavors. So a lot of them couldn't do these long distant walks anymore, but they had cacao plantations. And so while Glenn was going on this journey in Papua New Guinea, and I had this history within my family of cacao, we happened to meet up at around that time and realize that together with another gentleman called Steve Ward, who was one of the co-founders of Living Koko, but is no longer with Living Koko. We all wanted to come together and create a space that, could really help the most vulnerable people back home in the Pacific.
So Phoebe, it really is a speed dating match when you both both had the same idea, same passion, same drive, and you thought, wow, let's do this.
Yeah.
You understand my you understand my Kiwi sense of humor and Samoan attitude, right? You get it.
Yeah, I do. That's why we're smiling and laughing through.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just incredible, and the relationship back to home. Tell us a little bit about the connections you still have and how all that works for you.
Yeah. So to start off, we worked with an organization called WIBDI, which is Women in Business Samoa. Women in Business in Samoa support those within agriculture, those within subsistence farming, trying to find markets for their work overseas, and really focusing on, I guess, the most vulnerable people in the Pacific, vulnerable to climate change and, things that are happening back home. We engaged with them and had a lot of conversations and met with some of the farmers that were growing cacao. Meeting up with the farmers was just a beautiful experience of coming home. A lot of the elders knew my grandfather. And I realized, the respect and weight that was on my mother's father's name, which is Stanley. Laulu Sisole John Stanley was my grandfather's name, and so heading on these farms, these elders would get very emotional at the alofa, the love that he had for his people, which was really exciting for us. And, I'll be honest with you, it felt like massive responsibility too, after spending so many years traveling and living in spaces where I was anonymous and to go back home and to know that there was this respect and responsibility on our name felt huge and something that I couldn't be, or we couldn't be, in my mind, a one-hit wonder. I believe we had to keep showing up to this and being consistent and showing that we were in for the long haul.
Now, Phoebe, for many of our listeners and viewers, they haven't been to Samoa. I have. Beautiful, beautiful place. But paint us a picture of what it's like. I remember when I was there a couple of years ago, been a few times. It's like one road around, hidden track, like driving through New Zealand, the mountains, and the cost of the food, everything's imported, like so many things are imported. The cost is huge. You won Macca's, where everyone's queued to go to McDonald's. Yeah. Talk to us about, what you're doing. Like as you said, you're doing so much for the community, but also creating that business and those job opportunities and, food. Samoans Not going to admit it, not going to lie, we love our food.
Yeah, we do love our food, and the imported food is not the best. The introduced food is obviously not the best for Pacific Islanders and for for any of us really. Our traditional native foods are incredible. They are what in a Western culture now everyone is striving to eat more of to be healthy. I think with many spaces that have been colonized by other areas, one of the very first things that get colonized is the food systems. The introducing of foods that are from another land, and then changing the way that we cultivate it on the land, and adding chemicals and things like that to try and to grow these foods, which spoils our soils. The monocropping spoils our soils. It becomes really it strips the nutrients from it. So just touching on your food comment, Samoa has an abundance of incredible tropical fruits, fish, vegetation, and has a real resurgence of self-motivation to be activating those spaces. With Living Koko, there are a number of other organizations that are working with Samoa to export cacao. And like Whitaker's Chocolate has a great contract with Savai Koko, and we also work along with Savai Koko. We partner with Savai Koko to export our cacao out of Samoa. Samoa is green and stunning, and but at the same time is really finding its feet in the export world. There's great contracts there with coconut oil. I think they're the main supplier of coconut oil for the Body Shop.
Wow.
Yeah, they're the only supplier of coconut oil, which is a great project that women in business have created. And the cacao exports are going up also. So unfortunately, there have been times where various diseases have come through and killed off vegetations and challenged the ecosystem, and therefore it was harder to export taro and things like that. But things are coming right back home now. Yeah.
Wow, there seems to be a lot to your business. Now, don't forget, we're on 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. We want to hear from you tonight. So give us your comments and your messages. Any question you've got for Phoebe, she'll answer. And it's great to have Chris here. Kelly, what's Chris got to say?
Hello, peeps. Does our lovely guest also teach Polynesian dance, or are there songs that are traditional to her culture that she likes? Oh, good question, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Yes, I do teach Polynesian dance. How did you know that? Yes, I do teach Polynesian dance. I have a Polynesian dance group here called Nuhalani, and we had a dance school before COVID, and are just still trying to find our feet after COVID now. I think, the capacity of Phoebe in 2019 is very different to the capacity in 2020.
I was just going to say, Phoebe, I mean, you seem like you're a Wonder Woman. You make chocolate. You're a community development worker. You're a dance teacher. What were the other things on your list? I mean, you seem to be able to do virtually anything. I mean, it's a long list of talents and things you're actually involved in.
I'm really bad at all sports. Anything that a ball is being thrown at me, it's not worth it. It's embarrassing.
Tell us a bit about your community development stuff.
Yeah, sure. So my postgrad was in community development in the arts, and I, in the past, have run either directed myself or partaken in supporting different cultural festivals. I ran a festival here called My Island Dream, which supported schools in the west, mainly in the western suburbs, who really wanted to connect, young people that really wanted to connect to their Pacific Island culture. We took like 12 schools through a program, a 10-week program, teaching them about the music, the arts, and the dance, and then we created a platform for them all to come and perform at. So, you know, Callie, you would understand it's like a mini Polyfest.
Yeah, okay.
A mini Polyfest of New Zealand, and a really great way for our young people to connect and have pride in their culture and understand, you know, the ways of their parents and their grandparents. Yeah.
Now, Chris, if you're listening, if you want to go to a mini Polyfest, go to Auckland, particularly South Auckland, and you will not go hungry. You will be seeing everyone dancing, and you will you will get to learn a lot about the culture. Am I right, Phoebe?
Yeah, it's huge. They have a stage for each island in the Pacific, and I've danced when I was at school. I danced on a number of those stages, and then even when I left school, I went to schools and taught Polynesian dance and taught at Unitech. So yeah, all our history is in our dance and our movements. You know, as a culture that didn't have a written language, that is the way we passed on our story. So it's important for us to continue that.
So how do you run a business and do 12 schools and everything else you're doing? I mean, it's unbelievable. Importing from Samoa and Papua New Guinea. It looks like you're working in there as well. You're sort of all around the world. It's just incredible what you do.
How do I do it? I guess it's all kind of intertwined, you know, in some way. There, like, for example, a few weeks ago, I was asked to come and perform at the Little Foods Festival at Fed Square. So I created a dance that taught the kids about the importance of the natural elements to help grow cacao. So the Little Food Festival is about teaching young people about healthy eating and where food comes from and that. So we created a Polynesian dance about the stars and the constellations, you know, biodynamics, and then the rain that came down and all that stuff. And then at the end, the cacao tree grew. So, you know, there is this weaving of living Koko as well as my Polynesian dance and stories that they kind of just complement each other in that way.
Well, I'd have to agree with Bree that says it's an amazing program for schools, and she's a big rap on what you're doing there. Would you say that what you're sort of doing is like a social enterprise or a B Corp? Or, I mean, you're certainly more than just a business, aren't you?
Yeah, we're definitely a social enterprise. We're B Corp pending, so we're on our way there. It's a huge process, and I was actually just interviewed on another podcast in regards to the gaps in the B Corp system that have come to light when they have been working with us on how to get our certification. You know,
our listeners out there, sorry to interrupt, Phoebe. What's B Corp?
Yeah, sure. I'm like, I hope I get this right. B Corp is a certification that businesses can go through a process to show their integrity in all aspects, in community, in employment, in you know, understanding where their ingredients and their how their suppliers work, to make sure they're paying above the working wage. Environmental side, so all different aspects. So you know, there's fair trade, which is about the trade portion, but to go deep within a business and to look at all of that. So going through our process, we, you know, they spoke about the board of directors, and I was like, well, we don't have that, but we have like a group of elders. You know, how do I put that? What kind of points does that give me? You know, how do I explain that in a Western framework that there's a group of elders that support us and guide us in our workings in Samoa and ensure that we're doing things culturally safe and appropriate.
Now, Phoebe, I think we've got something for Julio here. Chris reckons you should teach Julio how to do some of these dances. What do you think, Julio? Would you be up to doing some of the dances, mate?
I'll take dancing on. I will take dancing on.
Why don't you sort of stand up and see how you go, mate? We should.
I wish I could. Yeah.
Would Julio be a good candidate for you, Phoebe, to do a bit of dancing? Because he is looking for something to do. He doesn't do a lot, and he's got a bit of spare time on his hand.
Yeah.
I think considering he runs a community radio station with you all, it's like he's doing quite a lot.
What do you think about this, Julio? It's an amazing person, Phoebe, and her partner, and what they're doing in a number of countries, and also helping schools and helping everybody.
Yeah,
what drives you, Phoebe? Like, where does your passion come from? What drives you, and what drives your partner? Because you do a lot, and sometimes you have that idea. So what really was like, right, this is what I want to execute, not just like you said earlier, a one-stop shop sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. I lost a really close friend a number of years ago in an extremely tragic and public way. And it kind of sent me on a spiral, to be honest, like of depression, anxiety, just overwhelmed with stress. And I realized the way that we grieve in our Pacific Island cultures is very different to how things were dealt with in Australia, or within the spaces that I was. It was very much get back straight into work, and as I was trying to get back into work, I realized that how difficult it is to go back into a space that you don't feel any passion for. So creating Living Koko with Glenn, and then doing all the community work, I guess helped pull me out of depression, helped pull me out of that space, made me realize I needed to create spaces of light and see them, because I didn't feel it in my heart at all. So by doing that, it helped a lot, and I just want to continue doing that for everyone, and also for myself. I think we need more of that.
100%, and that's so encouraging for anyone listening now, or going back to watch this show later. When you're saying to be able to shine that light to community members, to do something that you're passionate about, really important.
Well, acts of service, right?
Yeah.
You feel great when you do something that is fueled with kindness and integrity and love. And I think that's what we realized with Living Koko. With businesses, it takes a number of years to see a profit. And when you're doing manufacturing and you understand, the prices of machines and things like that, and you're completely self-funded and running a business alongside of a 9-to-5 job, you realize you have to find all the other currencies carrying your waka. So Callie would know what a waka is. A waka is like a canoe or a va'a. So I used to see Living Koko as this va'a, as this canoe. And if I looked over the edge, I couldn't just look for the currency of money. That couldn't be the only reason as to why I was showing up to the space. I had to see that there was, community, that there was supportive spaces, that there was kindness, that there was integrity, that there was all these other lights of currents coming through and carrying this waka with all of us in it. And that gave me more passion and drive to continue.
Such a good way.
It's fantastic. And I mean, a lot of the kids at the schools that you're connecting with, or young people from the Polynesian background, they really do need people like yourself, because they've got a number of challenges, and out in the western suburbs, there's a number of different things going on. So it's really welcome to have someone like you being a community leader in many ways. And are you embraced by other community leaders from Pacific Island nations and that?
Yeah. It's hard to see yourself as a leader, but the way you're saying that, I'm like, oh yeah. But there are some incredible Pacific Island community leaders, especially in the youth sector in the western suburbs, actually throughout Melbourne, like CMY community multicultural youth centre. They're doing great work. They've got a program there called Lemana, which is headed by some amazing Pacific Island leaders. Also, Karis Mentoring, which has been around for 10 years. They're just about to have their birthday, and we've worked together on a number of projects, and they're doing great things.
It's such a small world, we had Tia and Tawa on the radio here a few weeks ago.
We did.
They were on the show, and they were fantastic, and they were coming to us from New Zealand, because they're living in New Zealand now.
I was just going to say, Mark, do you see a common denominator here where the Kiwis are quite driven, quite ambitious, community focused?
Well, this is becoming the New Zealand Kiwi show, Community Heart. But we keep importing these, having these Kiwi people on the show to really help us. But Tara and Tia do an amazing job with their Karis mentoring program over there in the West, and it's just such a small world that you actually know them and work with them, because I love them both. They're great.
Yeah, they're incredible people and just with so much heart. And I think we've all come from humble beginnings and know what the challenges within our community are, but we also know where the just incredible talent and skill sets too. Hey, and we just need to focus on that and to help self-motivate our young people.
Do you see yourself now with Living Koko to be a mentor to young people, Phoebe, particularly in that Pacific culture, those wanting to get into work, looking at study, or like you said, doing something from the heart, passion, where you go through those stages, losing someone close?
We run youth work placements here at Living Koko. We're all about trying to support our young people, especially through the transition of leaving school and heading into either tertiary education or work. It's such a daunting, scary time. And I think if you don't have that support at home, we live in a very concrete, difficult jungle. And a lot of us are in survival mode trying to get through it. So it's not that parents are ignoring the kids. It's just, people are just trying to figure out their way through the life and times of now. Living Koko offers those kinds of programs.
So good.
Wow.
It's
good.
Unbelievable what you're doing out there. I can't believe it. And don't forget, it is Mother's Day, Kelly, and James is wishing us all a happy Mother's Day on the Sunday. So a big day on Sunday.
Yes,
thanks,
it is.
James.
So
I suppose Mother's Day and chocolate, Phoebe, they go together, don't they?
We've been really busy this week sending out love bombs, which are chocolate ball with marshmallows inside to put in. So lots of people have been bombing their mothers with love, which is really
Mark, you can get your mum one of those?
Yeah, I should give mum one, something like that. I'm taking your mum out for lunch on Sunday, so that'll be good, just to wish her happy Mother's Day. So it's I'm sure a lot of different people are doing things with their mother or remembering their mothers, or mothers are a pretty important person in all our lives.
Yeah.
Phoebe, what about your mum?
My mum is in New Zealand. Lucia Henrietta Phoebe Stanley Preuss is her name, and she taught me that you could be a leader and you could lead with a gentle heart. Nice. She used to tell me, it's fine. Don't be scared. Just walk in the room with your smile and your heart, and you'll get through it. There was times I felt ill-equipped to be representing Living Koko or to be building a business like this. And I think when you start any new business, there's a lot you don't know. There's so much I had no idea about. And then even as you start gaining those skill sets, getting to a point of owning what you know as well, and owning the titles like, leadership and all that things takes a lot of self-reflection. And so, my mum has really helped with that and has always been a great support. And also
Maybe would you have a job for Julio? Because Julio's looking for a job. What sort of jobs would you have for someone like Julio?
I'm not exactly sure. Well, we have.
He's actually okay in the kitchen. He's not too bad in the kitchen. He's good,
good
at washing.
Yes, this is true.
Dishwasher.
Yes. I've also I used to be a pastry chef, so I'm fine that way as well.
Oh, you would be amazing with chocolate then if you used to be a pastry chef. You would know it's all about the science and the temperatures and things like that. We work with a lot of pastry chefs. We provide them chocolate and chocolate chips or blocks of chocolate for for their creations.
Yes, so chocolate's really useful for creating most of the stuff in pastry.
Yeah.
So, one question I had for you: the cacao husk tea. I'm a partial to the tea. Could you explain that to me? Because I was reading a bit about your website as well.
Yeah, sure. So, do you want to know everything about it, or just it? How far do you want
the flavor, how it's done.
So the skin of the bean is called the ba'u, or the husk, and kind of like a peanut that has a shell and then it has a skin. The cacao has the skin. We're a zero waste manufacturing space. So when we started making chocolate, we realized we had to do the winnowing process of removing the husk, and then we were left with all this cacao husk. We're really blessed that we understand and know the post-harvesting processes deeply in Samoa. We know that they have been fermented correctly for 7 days and sun-dried for 1 to 2 weeks. We know that the moisture content is really low, and that there is and the beans are brown, like they're not covered in white, where some beans from other countries can be covered in white, the skin can be white, and that's mold. So I wouldn't be using that for like a cacao husk tea, but ours are premium and great quality. So it smells like chocolate. But when you drink it, it has a very, very light cacao flavor. With like a tint of like vanilla and malt. So whatever is planted next to the cacao trees, it can affect the flavoring. Also, the fermentation and the drying process can also affect the flavoring. But definitely what is planted next to it, kind of like us. Whoever we're planted next to can also affect our flavoring and how we behave and how we move through the world and our own personal culture.
Phoebe, where did you come up with all these ideas? Like, how did you know when you're just explaining about that tea? Did someone walk you through? Like, this is how they're made and developed and grow and...
Well, because our family grew up on cacao plantations, and for my grandfather's history, a lot of that knowledge, I think I just absorbed from osmosis. And being with my mom and my uncles and aunties who worked on those plantations when they were younger. So the fermentation and the drying processes, it's just things I've learned.
Well, Phoebe, Julio's just got a couple of pictures up. Run us through these pictures. What's going on here?
That's Florence Neal. She's a incredible organic cacao farmer in Samoa. Her plantation is called Miss Sunshine, and she at the moment is breaking, it looks like she's breaking the pods and removing the seeds and the flesh from the pods. So the seeds then become the cacao beans, and the flesh it disappears through the fermentation process.
Okay, what you got any other, Julio?
You probably can explain here the cocoa.
Yeah, sure. So that's a cacao pod, and the one in the middle has been broken or open up. So that white part is the flesh, and then you see the lumps underneath it. Those are the cacao beans or the seeds. So if you were to rip off the seeds, there's also an area in the middle that is the sweet part, and that's the actual fruit of the cacao. So we used to rip off, or we still do, like rip off the beans and we suck the fruit, and that's really quite delicious. So, and then what it's sitting on is cacao beans that have been fermented and dried. They haven't been roasted. These cacao pods grow from flowers that are like the size of your little finger. These flowers can only be pollinated by midges. So that they can't
Can I ask a dumb question? What's the difference between this and chocolate?
Well, if you were to plant that from seed, about 4 years. It does not taste like chocolate. You need to go through the fermentation and the drying and roasting. So like similar to coffee, roasting brings out the different flavors, the dark roast and the light roast.
Yeah.
But that is what chocolate is essentially made of. Good chocolate, not like mass made Cadbury's and things like that.
Yeah.
No.
I was just going to say, Phoebe, tapping on to Mark's question. Now, it's going to sound like a stupid question too, but when did we find out that cacao was actually really good for you? Now we use it in everything.
Yeah,
And
it's really
not only good for us to eat, but like you said earlier, for our skin as well and things like that.
Yeah, so it has the highest amount of iron and magnesium of any plant-based source. But if you were to have cacao, you need to have it with vitamin C to activate the magnesium. And so that's with, maybe some kiwi fruit or something like that, if you're throwing it into a smoothie. We have a product, Head and Heart, which is 100% drinking cacao, which is pretty much the fruit that we've just roasted, fermented, dried, roasted, and then grinded, and then put into a packet. So it's dried fruit grinded, which is 100% chocolate. And 100 grams of that is the amount of magnesium a woman needs every day to keep her system going. Obviously, you're going to get magnesium from lots of different things, like not just you're not just going to like eat it. But
magnesium.
That's a great excuse.
Where do we buy your products from? If like I'm getting a bit hungry, and Julio's always hungry, where do we go and buy your products from?
You can buy them online at Living Koko, Koko, livingkoko.com. Or we're in a number of stores around Victoria, Queensland, and New South Wales.
Fantastic.
And they're all on our stockers. We're in Almonds and Warrandyte. We're in a lot of the specialty and whole food stores. But we're slowly getting out there. It's a lot of door knocking and, telling our story, but
it's a great story. And Julio, we should put the website up on the page. So I'm sure our listeners would love to taste some of the product and get into the chocolate. I think even Kelly likes a bit of chocolate, don't you, Kelly?
I do, particularly the dark chocolate, not white chocolate. No, I'm like Phoebe. I like the dark, where it's actually proper chocolate.
Yes,
it's great. Well, we're coming up to our famous 5 in 5, and we're going to hear from Phoebe her 5 life lessons she's learned. And I've just been, it's just been fantastic to hear her philosophy and her insights tonight and what she does. Are quite amazing. She's an incredible leader of the community and showing the way how you can make business have a big impact on the community that you live in while still making a living and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a great example you are, Phoebe, to other businesses.
Exactly.
Thanks, Mark. That's really lovely to hear.
That's great. It's great. It really is really exciting. Well, Phoebe, we might go into your top 5 now. And if our listeners have got any comments to make, we'd love to hear from you, especially what you think about the top 5, or you might want to make some comment about Mother's Day because we're, it's a big day, Mother's Day, and let us know your thoughts as Julio's putting there. But what would be your number 1 tip, Phoebe, that you've got for us tonight, or number 1 learning from your journey?
To try and live consciously every day. I took a lot of time to question all my routines and if they actually honestly brought me joy. And going through the joy going with the flow of life can bring a lot of joy if you're actually doing it consciously. But I think when you lack awareness, the capacity of joy is quite limited because of your lack of boundaries. So living consciously every day is really important. It's my number 1.
Is that sort of like being mindful?
Yeah, it is being mindful. It's just, I guess, knowing what brings you joy, really brings you joy, not moving into people pleasing too much, and really understanding your own boundaries in that space and what triggers you and what you need to work on and heal.
Phoebe, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How do you know what brings you joy? How do you find that out? Who do you ask for that?
Well, you ask yourself.
Ask yourself. Okay.
You obviously ask yourself. I don't know what brings you joy, Mark. Well, I wrote my things down. I was like, what brings me joy? Roller skating, being in the ocean, cycling, just simple things like that. And then I just made sure I got ahead of it. I got some of it at least once a week to and then
Kelly, what brings you joy? What would be on your top three, things?
What do you think, Matt?
Well, I know you like exercise.
Exactly. I was going to say dancing. Love it.
Dancing, yes. Yeah, I thought you'd be out there. Never go for a walk with Kelly. You can't keep up, but she's very quick. But yeah, I thought exercise or movement would be up there for you.
Movement. Exactly. Eating lots of different foods. Absolutely.
Yes, food's on my list as well, unfortunately. But well, that's great. So being more conscious, more aware, more thoughtful, more mindful, that sort of thing, Phoebe, for our first tip.
Yeah. My second would be to find a hobby that connects you with nature and to elements. For me, thinking of the 4 elements of water, air, earth, fire. For water, I scuba dive or I swim. For air, I cycle. For earth, I hike. And fire, I'm a professional fire dancer. So, I find whenever
I think we've got to get this list down. So we've got fire dancer as well.
Yeah, it's Polynesian, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I find just if you have a hobby that can connect you with nature, it can really support your journey and your life. I think my third one was kind of similar in that way. Whenever I've moved to a lot of spaces and lived in many towns, and whenever I've moved to a new area, the first thing I look for is the natural resources in the area. Where are the rivers, the streams, the oceans, the mountains? I realized if I could foster my kinships with these spaces, and that's to help ground me in this really modern world, find my natural resources and they'd be like, great, this is where I'm going to walk. This is where I'm going to do this, where I'm going to do that. Now it's time to find people to be friends with. And so if things aren't happening right within these kinships and community, and I'm challenged by that or triggered, I can always go to the natural resources and help heal.
I love it. And a lot of these thoughts come from your background, back in your family, your heritage and all that sort of stuff. Is that where it was sort of all developed for you, all this stuff?
Yes. I think just throughout life, you go through your own ups and downs, and it's that part about, living consciously and really finding out the things that bring you joy, the things within your area that bring you joy, and knowing that you need them. They're just as important as, and in indigenous Samoan indigenous practices, even indigenous cultures around the world, global indigenous cultures, kinships with nature is they're your ainga, they're your tupuna, you see the mountains and the streams as your elders. So it's all connected. And I think that's one of the challenges in life at the moment. I think we all don't see ourselves as part of nature. We see ourselves as very disconnected with nature. And so we're not willing to fight for her.
Okay, we're covering a few areas here tonight, which is fantastic. What would be number 4?
Be accountable and live with integrity. I think living with integrity means what you say, think, do, feel are actually positive, with alignment, with your values. And I notice when they're out of alignment, I spiral. I start to overthink, I start to doubt, and I start to question things. So if I hold myself accountable and live with integrity, then I know I'm living the best life that I can.
I was just going to say, Phoebe, who and what keeps you accountable, or is it yourself?
Oh gosh, I think I know when something's off. Spiritually, mentally, physically, or even within the spaces I'm in. And then it's up to me to go away and reflect before I project. Reflect on what is actually going on, with it, you call it reflecting, praying, just really deeply considering what is happening before challenging the space or challenging people in that area, and just knowing what I have done to manifest something that is happening, that is creating this, misalignment, and then understanding that I'm actually accountable for that.
Really good values, really, really good. And Mark, you're on mute there, but Sarah Brown saying is commenting as well. Love Phoebe's perspective. Yes to living with integrity.
Yeah, that's a great thing from Sarah. Thank you for your comment, Sarah. And if you want other people want to comment, feel free to do that. But these are really great. I'm looking forward to the fifth one, Phoebe.
It's kind of a flow on from that, and quite simple. I realize that when I'm feeling agitated, annoyed, or having dark thoughts, or even doubting myself in situations, I just need to do a self-check before I reflect about others or project onto others. I think we can be very quick to blame people and situations around us when sometimes all you need is a nap. Have you had a nap maybe, or maybe you need some water. Simple things. Maybe you need to go and connect with the ocean, with the moana, and ground yourself and realize that what you're actually feeling agitated and annoyed with isn't that much of a big deal.
Yeah,
very true.
What do you think of these 5, Kelly? What's your perspective before I get Julio to read them all?
Oh, well, I can definitely relate to you on many, Phoebe. Feel like I have lots of similarities with you. And I don't know, when you're saying about that integrity and authenticity and, where you go to ground yourself, I think Mark's right. Sometimes with our heritage, that comes back to too. We learn those ways of being part of, like you said, those 4 different avenues. And it's really important to go back into nature and to really think about that. Look, taking that step back and thinking about that bigger picture. Where are we from?
Yeah.
What is it that we want to be achieving? What's our purpose?
Yeah, 100%. And I think we've forgotten that we're actually part of an ecosystem. And we are trained from a very young age to be part of an ecosystem. And that was what continues to be triggered throughout our lives, is our ego. If we actually reflected and was more conscious with our decisions and the way we walked through the world, things would be a lot better for us and for our community and everyone around us.
Absolutely.
So, Julio, give us the top 5, buddy.
Okay. Number 1, live consciously every day. Understand what brings you joy. Number 2, find a hobby that brings you closer to nature. Number 3, find your natural resources where you can spend time with your natural hobbies. Number 4, be accountable and live with integrity. And number 5, do a self-check.
Well, there you go. What do you think about those, Julio?
Really good. Actually, all grounded back to nature, to yourself, and to also look after yourself. I think it's a very relaxing way to live, to be quite honest.
Should we send you down to Chocolate Factory for a bit of a self-check?
I reckon self-check, self-taste, self-everything, I think, yeah.
I think, Phoebe, if you wanted to do any taste testers or trial any products, I'm your number one gal there. So feel free to send anything out, or I can come help.
I would love to welcome you all into our space. That would be an honor to have you all here. I would make a big pot of hot chocolate for us, or hot drinking Koko.
Nice.
Sit in Talanoa and talk deeply about life, or we can just laugh at just the absurdities of it, whatever.
They both work. Well,
we do want to wish all our mothers, Kelly, happy Mother's Day, don't we? We want to wish all the mothers listening and all our guests and friends that are mothers and our mothers, or they are mothers, or they're going to be mothers, or they know mothers. However they connect with mothers, we want to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day, don't we?
We do. We also want to speak to those who may not be a mum, but or may have lost their mums, and who have spiritual mums or aunties or friends or sisters. So just want to, to be asked to be aware of what Mother's Day brings to everyone on Sunday.
That's right. Yeah. And Julio, you'd relate to that too, with your mum passing, and
Yeah. So it's a time of life that you have to go through sometimes, I think, and it's a hard journey that you have to go through. And mums, you can really feel it when you lose your mum, especially for a male. It's one of the biggest things you can do. You can take in your life, but off we go that way. So wishing everybody happy Mother's Day as well.
And Phoebe, what are you doing on Sunday?
What am I doing on Sunday? I'm going to the Moana. So every Sunday I have a group of incredible Pacific Island women, and at 7 a.m. we meet at the Moana, at the ocean at Williamstown. And mothers, there's mothers, there's those who want to be mothers, there's young women and older women and grandmothers, and we remind ourselves of our relationship to the Moana and just, be able to reflect in a safe space together. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
what times does she do this on a Sunday?
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Winter or summer.
Williamstown.
And we jump in the water.
Oh, wow.
Even when it's raining or cold or whatever it is?
Yeah. We do our cold water therapy and yeah.
I was going to say, do you have a good wetsuit, Phoebe? I hope so.
No. We all into swimsuits.
Cold water therapy.
You're like.
Yeah.
Maybe Julio, we need a bit of cold water therapy. That might help us a bit.
I will. I'll get a 5 mil suit first, I think, and go from there.
Right. Well, I tell you what, it's been a great show having Phoebe here on Community Heart Radio. Just really great. And Phoebe, you're inspirational. I just can't get over it. And so look, as we sort of finish up, Kelly, any comments?
Just thank you so much for coming on the show, Phoebe. I just think your heart and passion for the community, and for any of our listeners and viewers out there, this is one to watch, for anyone who wants to go to take part in your youth, your youth programs, everything that you've spoken about. Yeah, very admirable.
Yeah, I can't help think that, Phoebe, you're a great role model for people that want to do some good in the community, want to run a business, want to give back a bit. I think in young people today, I just think they really need role models. They need community. Community is so powerful. Don't you think? I mean, the whole community thing of the Polynesian culture is such a powerful force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's such a powerful.
I've seen it in action, and I just think it's such a great, just so good to be part of. And you're all embracing too. So it doesn't mean you have to be Polynesian to feel part of that community. They're very loving, very accepting, very inclusive people.
Yeah, really inclusive. And I find that our culture really celebrates, the masculine and feminine energies too. So, to bring out that masculine, the haka, the passion behind that, and then to move into movement that is so gentle and representation of nature and things like that. We're blessed to be able to have those tools to tap into that are connected to our culture. Yeah, that we can pass on to the young people, whether they're from the Pacific Islands or not.
Julio, any last comments from yourself, mate?
No, just Phoebe, thanks very much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to listen to you and also explaining a couple of things from what you do and also what's happening in the Samoan world, especially in this side, and how industry works there and what could be done for sustainable growth, especially in little islands like that, which is very important. They make up a very large ecosystem that we need really badly.
Yeah.
And Phoebe, just a last comment from yourself for our listeners tonight, listening now or listening later. Be great to just have a final few thoughts from yourself.
I guess I just want to say to everyone, thank you for listening. I hope you all have a safe, lovely evening, and to be mindful, and I hope you live with joy.
Fantastic. And Julio, do you feel like going for a swim on Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, buddy?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll bring a wetsuit. I'll go. Let's go.
All right. Well, great to see everyone. We'll see you all next week. Thanks for listening to Community Heart Radio on 98.9 Northwest FM. It's great to see you all, and happy Mother's Day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. or watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn and other social media.